I mean, I like it filmmaking wise too. I know sometimes M. Night Shyamalan, he can be a little, I don't know if it's over the top or maybe grating to some people with his direction. It's kind of like uh film student artsy a little bit, like a little
Yeah.
over the
There
top,
is
too
something
on the
eye-rolling
nose.
about it in a
I
way.
like it. I love it. My favorite.
Something about it. Something about it makes me go, "Hey." But I also like it.
Well, it sometimes he does it more than other times. It's more like I would say there's nothing wrong with The Village as far as how it's directed, but I can see how there's certain things that he does sometimes that are just like a little too much, a little like just dial it back a little bit. I know you're trying to be fancy and artsy, but you don't have to do that because it's not actually fancy or artsy to try. To be really fancy and artsy, you just have to. It just like oozes from your pores and with no effort, like
Right.
something like David Lynch would do, or like Parasite.
Yeah. I think that there are filmmakers who have that sort of effortless flick of the wrist quality. David Lynch is definitely one of those. I mean, he can
Or
put out an
for Coppola, like his
yeah
during like the 70s. Yeah.
that
See, I could
ridiculous.
see Martin Scorsese. Sometimes he seems to be trying to me, which I know people would talk. If you want to get people to hate me online, Luke, if you want to like make a nice clip for and send
Yeah.
it to like a chat room of Martin Scorsese people.
My
I know it's
goal
your
in life
favorite
is
thing.
to throw you under the bus as many
I know.
times as possible. Yeah.
I'll say Martin Scorsese, though he is a master filmmaker, I can
He's
sometimes,
punk.
you can see his art, just
Yeah.
like how M. Night Shyamalan's, you can see his, like you can see the effort or the intention in a way that's distracting.
Right.
Whereas, like we're saying, those some certain masters, it just like it, like so. Let's say Terrence Malick, Tree of Life. That's another. That would be like a masterpiece.
Right.
That you
Yeah.
can't. You're not just. I mean, even as very, like the aesthetics are very artful. It's not in a way that just takes away from the movie. It's not
Right. There's
rubbing your nose
there's
in it.
craft there.
Right.
There is
Right.
work there. There's hard work there. There's craft. There's training. There's
Right.
all of his experience. There's his philosophy. But it's part of his being, and it's more.
Right.
It feels like it feels to him when he thinks up the idea. It probably matches what the result on the screen. So who knows?
Sometimes Scorsese and Spielberg too.
I was gonna say
will-
Spielberg has the same sort
they
of
put your
quality.
noses right in it. Yeah.
There is
It's
something.
like, okay, I see you. I can feel the guy carrying the dolly, like the
Yeah.
camera guy. I can see the shot. Like,
That's an interesting thing. It's hard to say, but it's sort of like there's something this is a movie-ish about it,
right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, there is. Because at zero point did I ever feel that watching Parasite. That movie, you're just in it, like lucidly. You're just in
Yeah.
the film.
Yeah. I mean, it's
So there's
from the beginning scene
even
when
though there
they're
are
fumigating
stylistic touches,
when they're fumigating you're in it as soon as that happens.
which doesn't mean it's
that's
not
a
stylish though,
experience.
because he does like stuff with slow motion. There's all kinds of different shots, interesting editing and stuff, but it's all effortless. It's yeah.
Right.
It's interesting to make that distinction. So anyway, M. Night falls into kind of the Scorsese Spielberg category with that,
Yeah.
which sounds like really good company to be in. But I think there's times when he has it's worked perfectly, that's why I think The Village is his best movie. I think Unbreakable is right there as far as movie quality there with that. More recently, I think it's I don't know, just a little heavy-handed, maybe.
A
I
little
thought Glass
forced.
was a little forced, perhaps.
The last line of Split is almost unbearable. It's
Well, that's just
that-
like a trailer tacked onto the end of the
the
film.
waitress or whoever's at the restaurant says
I erased
whatever
it from my
line
memory.
she says.
Yeah.
It's very cringe-inducing. I remember
Yeah.
that, and then she walks away, and then there's Bruce Willis, and he's there. And he says,
They play the music from the 90s,
Yeah.
the late 90s.
and then
Or I guess it was the year
Bruce
2000.
Willis says, what does he say? The Horde? Does he say?
They call him the Horde,
They call
or
him
something
the
like
Horde.
that.
Yeah. What
I
did they
know.
call him? Walk away. They were saying the instructions off camera.
See, I could be playing that music right now, just mixing it in.
Well,
We
what
should get
about-
back on topic.
Yeah, probably. Well, I was going to say about the effortless thing, you mentioned David Lynch. And I'm not even a huge David Lynch fan, but I can see it 100%. He's definitely in the other camp, whatever camp that is. And
There's a camp.
even that, I was on Netflix, and there's that ridiculous interview with the monkey,
Oh
where it's
yeah,
David Lynch and the monkey, and I started watching it, and immediately I thought, this is so stupid.
this isn't good.
By
right?
I
But then
was
you
done with
you keep
it, and
watching
it was done, and I was done. I thought, what did I just see? And there's something about it that is, I don't know.
You can tell it's just a magic. It's a magic touch.
And then
Some
I
people
thought,
have
what
the
do people
magic
think
touch.
about this on Rotten Tomatoes? So I went on Rotten Tomatoes, and everybody's just raving. This 95% audience
And it's
score
not
and
even
critic
like
score.
the
Everyone
dialogue
loves
is
it.
not even good. Yeah.
He's singing love songs to a
He actually
chicken.
did that. Yeah. With the really badly edited mouth and everything. It doesn't matter because
He's not
it's
even
like
trying anymore.
I think there's something. It's got to do with like artifice and purity of intention. I think certain artists are so pure with their intention and have no there's nothing put upon them to be perceived in a way except in which they want to express their idea.
Right.
Which I think sometimes are thinking of it one step removed. They might be thinking of it from what the audience wants to see.
Right.
Whereas other people are like right up there. Just
It's almost
I
an
just
enlightened. It's almost an enlightened perspective of their own
I
work.
think so.
Yeah, and he.
That's good. We need to make a list of these filmmakers and put them in their camps.
Well-
Because Coppola's over there too, I would say, with the enlightened ones.
I think we got sort of a feel of what this is, but I'm not even sure exactly what to call it. And yet, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
And I have whatever it is that we're talking about. I think there is something there, and we should probably have a list, and
We'll make a list.
and then we'll look at it and we'll see it, and
Let's-
then
well,
we'll have it.
What's interesting too is because you can't ruin something.
We'll
until you
write it
make a
down.
list
We'll
out
look
of
at it. We'll see it, and
train
then
it.
we'll have it. And then we'll have a list.
Yeah, that reminds me of a book I always wanted to read and never got around to called Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. It's just wanted to leave a little silence there.
All right.
Anyway, it's
moment
about
of
the
silence.
taming of the taming of the old West, and there's this giant, fat, disturbing character that's kind of a stand-in for the devil called Judge Holden, I think. And there's like this, anyway, the protagonist character. But anyway, throughout the whole thing, there's all these terrible, violent acts and fights with Native Americans and stuff. But this Judge Holden, this devil guy, he's like this giant, pasty, hairless guy who's like 400 pounds, but somehow still spry. But throughout the entire time, he's cataloging things and writing things down, and he's seeing things that people haven't written about before, and he's categorizing them and cataloging them. And then I think at the end of the book, the first fences start getting put up. So I think the whole idea was that that there's something of the devil in constraining like the wild beauty of nature, even the savagery of nature, or whatever was in the tribes. There's the devil is the one that's boxing things in and taking notes, and it's something removes. Demarcation does. So anyway, that was a long way.
In other
to
words,
say.
things are diminished by when you remove their gradient, the nature of the things
So
being a spectrum, things having gradients.
Make our list.
Yeah. Well, we could do each one as a gradient in each category, each side. And,
That's true.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that some filmmakers can be on the great side and then be on the other side at different times.
Well, like
Spielberg.
Yeah. See, we said the same thing, and we both know what we're talking about.
Because he's
Schindler's List is on one side, and
Bridge of Spies.
What's
The
the one
Post.
with what's the VR one?
Oh yeah, that one.
What's that one called?
Ready Player One.
Yeah, Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good, but it was a movie, you know. It was just a movie. Anyway, I think it's cool that he can do that. I think it's great. I like it.
Tarantino is like almost so intentionally artificial that he goes like all the way around back to being on the genius side again. Like he does everything to concentrate on making it a certain way that he's seen before, but he does it with such intensity that you got to throw him over there with the naturals.
Yeah,
I think.
maybe. I don't know how I feel about that. That might be right. Yeah. It's hard to put into words.
There's something to it, though.
There's
There
something
really
to
is.
it. No, you're absolutely right. There's something
Right.
to whatever we're talking about, but it's very hard to say exactly what it is. And I
So
know what
anyway-
you mean about Tarantino having a certain manic, frenzied insistence on the status quo, and it's to the point where it
thinks he's
becomes
seen.
heightened in a way. Yeah, I get
That's
the idea.
the thing. Yeah, he's like a pastiche artist, but he remakes it to the point where it is completely new, and he
Right.
does it better than it was ever done.
Here's an analogy. All right. I have decided to become a bologna connoisseur, and I'm going to make
That's a good
bologna.
analogy.
And I make bologna, just regular bologna, so well, but I insist on making bologna that people call it heightened bologna.
That's baloney.
Does that make sense? Is that an analogy?
That it is, but I don't think it's the right one.
Oh, all
You
right.
have to try again on that one. But it's a nice, good try.